Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez may have what's coming to her. What do you know? Tom Homan coming out and saying this woman is indeed under federal investigation. We've been waiting for it, right? Have we not? We're going to get into all of that, how she may be breaking federal law, plus a lot more going on, right? A lot more going on here today. We get the New York City Socialist for mayor possibly getting deported. That's the call from one Tennessee rep. We're going to play you what he's saying, show you his letter to Pam Bondi, and get Donald Trump's response. Meanwhile, Donald Trump is touring a detention facility down there in Florida with one governor of Florida who has some interesting ideas on how they can expedite things in terms of deportations, cutting through the red tape, if you would. And the Trump family is also out teasing who might be next. Who might be next? Who do you think it's going to be? It's an interesting article I want to share with you. Okay, we're off to the races. Welcome to the program, everyone. This is the Trish Regan Show. I am Trish. It's good to have you here. Please make sure you subscribe, share, like, all that good stuff. AOC may finally get what's coming to her. Ladies and gentlemen, she's under federal investigation, according to the border czar, one Mr. Tom Homan. And she's under federal investigation because it is believed she is impeding law enforcement. She also, interestingly, is allegedly having people in her congressional office that are here illegally. So if she's employing illegal immigrants, migrants, illegals, and she's simultaneously out there trying to impede law enforcement by telling everybody how to avoid the feds, that kind of comes down to a bit of a problem, as my friend Benny discovered with Tom Homan. They're on his program yesterday. Let's watch it together.
Here's the article of the criminal alien staffer that AOC had on staff. Maybe you could just start here and as an explainer to me and to this audience, like, how's this even possible?
It's not possible, and I know that's being looked at. I can't comment on past that. I'm aware of it. We've asked ICE to drill in on that case. It's my information that there were actually, I can't really comment on it. We don't know if it was illegal status or not at this point. It looks like it might have been temporary status, but I can't comment on the case. It's under investigation.
Under investigation. That's the key part. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we have been talking about this. AOC herself has been quite worried about it. Remember how she went out to PBS and was pleading her case there? Oh gosh, I've been asking and asking. I can't figure out whether or not I'm going to be charged. Maybe she hasn't been charged yet, but it sounds like the woman is definitely under investigation, and rightly so.
You had a recent dispute, if that's the right word, with Tom Homan, the president's Homeland Security czar, so-called. You held an online forum, a Know Your Rights forum, that he didn't like. What were you doing? What was your goal as you saw it?
My job is to educate and act as a liaison of critical information to my constituents. And I was informing all of my constituents of their constitutional protections, and in particular, their constitutional protections against illegal search and seizure in the United States.
Homan was upset, I suppose, because he felt that you were giving advice to people who were here illegally. Mm-hmm. Were you?
I was giving advice to all of my constituents.
Boom! And there you have it. Okay, so they're saying, well, they're not really your constituents. They're not here legally. And if you're actually encouraging them to evade ICE, which she was, well, then that would put you in violation of federal law. That would actually put you in the way of law enforcement trying to do its job. And that's exactly what she was doing. Remember all those little ceremonies she was giving online, the webinars, the chit-chats on Instagram or TikTok, and all her advice?
Principle number one in what you can do is that when one of these things comes to your backyard.
I just got to pause it there. When one of these things, she's referring to ICE agents, okay? She's referring to human beings that are trying to enforce federal law as things. I think that's kind of important to hear. It shows you her utter disrespect for the law.
Things comes to your backyard, you can resist. And what that happens over millions of people is that you generate enough friction that they cannot go as fast as they want to go, okay? So I'm going to give you some examples that have already been working. Let's start with immigration and ICE. when people say, what can we do? In my community, we are a heavily immigrant community. ICE raids deeply affect and disrupt our community.
Okay, so her thinking is you can actually avoid them, and she's going to walk you through how you do that. I would point out that if you do decide to not provide ICE with the proper documentation, you actually could be in a whole lot more trouble, which, by the way, is something that Tom Homan actually agrees with as well, pointing out that then you're actually really in violation of the law. Let's show you.
As far as her educating people how to evade ICE arrest, she's really educating them on how to be prosecuted, because there are statutes on the books, federal statute. When you knowingly hinder your removal, that's a crime. When you take steps to prevent your removal after being ordered removed by a federal judge, it's a crime. We have instructed ICE to start prosecuting these cases. If you don't want to open the door, and we have a final order removal, if you don't want to participate in getting travel documents from your home nation, you take steps to hinder your own removal, that it's a crime. You'd be prosecuted. So
okay.
She can claim she's...
Okay, so in other words, AOC's not doing anyone any favors. She didn't do La Monica any favors, now did she, who now faces up to 17 years. She's not doing her constituents any favors. And she's certainly not doing herself any favors with all of these social posts, one after another. If you see ICE in public, make sure you verify, document, share. Tell everybody that ICE is there so that they can help you out or so that they can run for cover too. I don't know. And then, of course, she made sure to do this one en español también, porque ella no habla español. I speak Spanish. For some reason, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez does not. Go figure. Go figure. But she does offer these town halls up. Yeah, town halls on how to fight ICE.
We can't rely on rules with a rule breaker.
Oh my gosh, it's hard on one's ears. she clearly is doing everything she possibly can, ladies and gentlemen, to fight the system, to fight ICE. And because of that, guess what? She is now under investigation. As for whether or not she's going to be arrested, that's what she's waiting for. Just a couple of weeks ago, a reporter asked her there on Capitol Hill, hey, AOC, what do you think? Congresswoman, can you tell us, are you under investigation by DOJ? So this is interesting. This was just the simplistic, are you under investigation? To which she said, I've been asking them, and they said nothing to me, so I don't really know. That's similar to what she was saying to PBS recently. So here's the headline. Here's the news flash. AOC, I hope you're watching. You're under investigation. Guess what? They are investigating you as we speak, AOC, because what you're doing is not okay. All right, we got some inkling of this recently because the DHS press person, Tricia McLaughlin, was talking about La Monica MacGyver, who decided to, literally throw her weight around there in Delancey, outside the Delancey Detention Center in Newark, New Jersey. And here's what she said regarding AOC and whether she might find herself arrested.
If AOC goes down there and pulls the same kind of stunt that we've seen on Friday and today, are you going to arrest her as well?
If she trespasses and if she assaults law enforcement officers, as we saw earlier, I think that that's certainly on the table.
Boom. Yes, certainly on the table. Well, she hasn't assaulted a law officer yet. But again, what we have learned from Tom Homan is that indeed she is under investigation, even though she doesn't know it, right? Because again, going on to her, she's waiting on arrest. She's waiting on finding out whether or not she's under investigation. And here's the headline. AOC, you are. And you know what? Here's why. You can't do what you're doing and expect to get away with it in the new law and order environment.
Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, Congresswoman, putting out a webinar, doing a webinar to help illegals avoid, apprehension, giving tips about how to continue to remain in the country and ultimately game the system.
At what level is that impediment? Is that impediment? Is that impediment? Is that impeding our law enforcement efforts? If so, what are we going to do about it? Is she crossing the line? So maybe AOC is going to be in trouble now.
AOC is in trouble now. You better believe it, even though she doesn't think she should be.
If anyone's breaking the law in this situation, it's not members of Congress, it's the Department of Homeland Security. It's people like Tom Homan and Secretary Kristi Noem. You lay a finger on them, we are going to have a problem.
Ah, okay. Well, you know, they have indicted one LaMonica MacGyver. Where are you on that? I don't see you. AOC, you kind of went silent after this woman really kind of went to bat for the cause, shall we say, dressed in red. So that is the video, of course, that we've seen many times out of Newark, New Jersey, and worth reminding ourselves of in this environment where you have one AOC actually not willing actually to stand up at all for LaMonica MacGyver, who she said, don't go near, don't you dare touch. And so they're willing to kind of fight this fight with a lot of rhetoric. But when push comes to shove, I don't know, as LaMonica's peeps are really going to be there for her. Again, AOC talks a good game, but ultimately she's running scared now. And she is under investigation. And this is a big deal. It's a big deal. As LaMonica found out, she's facing 17 years in the slammer.
I think the charges are absurd. You know, it's ridiculous. I was there to do my job along with my other colleagues. We have done this before. This is our obligation to do. It's in our job description to have oversight over a facility, and the entire situation was escalated by ICE.
LaMonica, you could have made an appointment, right? That would be within the scope of the job. The scope of the job is not to actually, get out there and try and muscle your way into the facility. That's not okay. That's not your job. That's not what you're supposed to do as a member of Congress. You don't have to take my word for it. Let's go to a legal scholar, Andrew McCarthy, well-versed on these issues. He explained it recently on Fox.
No, they absolutely don't have the authority to go in without the approval of the executive branch. The enforcement of the federal immigration laws is a federal responsibility. Congress has oversight of it. But members of Congress who are not acting as Congress, they're acting as individuals, they don't have any more right to obstruct the operations and certainly to create situations that endanger and in some cases reportedly have resulted in assaults on federal officials. They don't have any power to do that.
Boom. Okay, so it's pretty simple. LaMonica was way out of her skis. And AOC, in insisting that people band together like LaMonica did there in Newark, New Jersey, is actually encouraging the impediment of law enforcement. And let's go back to, Constitution 101. Who has the authority in this case? It's always the federal government. And we've talked about this at length, okay? The Supremacy Clause, the Commerce Clause, the Naturalization Clause. The federal government has the authority over who is here and who is not here in this country. It is not AOC. It's not these members of Congress. You have laws on the books, okay? Laws are on the books. And so what is the federal government supposed to do? They are supposed to enforce the law on the books, as Kristi Noem so brilliantly articulated, although it's honestly not that hard.
My only question to you, I'd say a question back to you is, which laws in the United States should be enforced and which ones shouldn't? I mean, my job, here's the deal, guys. My job is not to pick and choose which laws we enforce and which ones we don't. We have laws in this country, and they matter. If you want the law changed, go to Congress. When's the last time you went to Capitol Hill and told your senator or representative to change it? That's what they need to do. This is the perfect time for Congress to make a decision on how they want people in this country to be able to have an opportunity to come here legally and to fix this. We, as law enforcement officers and as a national security department and agency, my job is to uphold the law, and that's what I will continue to do.
Exactly. Okay, you know what? This is not rocket science. There's a law. You want to change it? AOC, you're welcome to try and change it, okay? But as so long as the law is the law, you're actually now looking like you're in violation of it. Hence, the opening of an investigation into Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, Tom Homan confirming there is an investigation going on about that alleged illegal staffer, and that there is an investigation going on into whether or not she has in fact violated federal law, in which case she would be arrested. I mean, they're going after They're going after the West Coast, right? You see them going after Los Angeles. They're suing the state of Los Angeles. That's new out today, too. And they're looking to round everybody up and put them down in Florida into the detention center that has become known as Alligator Alcatraz. Yeah, it's quite a name. You know, the president was talking about it a little bit earlier today as he began his trip down to Alligator Alcatraz and made the point that they need some kind of system to work through. You know, you got all this red tape, and even though they've been proven right at even the Supreme Court level, right, in terms of the deportations that are now being allowed and the canceling of visas for people, 530 some odd thousand of them that were brought here from Haiti, Nicaragua, Venezuela, and Cuba under the Biden administration. They're canceling those visas, but what do you do with them at that point? And that's become a bit of a challenge. So Ron DeSantis is offering up some answers and a little bit less bureaucracy.
This is we're offering up our National Guard and other folks in Florida to be deputized to be immigration judges. We're working with the Department of Justice for the approvals. I'm sure Pam will approve. But then I'll have a National Guard judge advocate here. Someone has a notice to appear. Biden would tell them to come back in 3 years and appear. Now you'll be able to appear in like a day or two, so they're not going to be detained, hopefully, for all that long. We'll have people here in this facility that can make, it's a bureaucracy. The president's got to deal with the bureaucracy. Now, that Supreme Court ruling was good because that's going to allow him to be able to exercise Article 2 the way founders intended, but you still have bureaucracy. So we want to cut through that so that we have an efficient operation between Florida and DHS to get the removal of these illegals done.
Boom. All right. So they mean business. And, alligators are quite an image, let me just say. As someone who grew up in the Northeast, I have a special fear for those things. So that takes on a whole new meaning. But the point being that they want to be able to expedite some of these people out of the country. And in terms of some of the national security concerns, et cetera, their hope is that they'll be able to do this in a more efficient kind of fashion. So what does AOC do with all of this? Well, she's trying to twist it into somehow that the GOP is totally anti-immigrant. Here's my newsflash for her. You know what? They're not anti-immigrant. The party's not anti-immigrant. The party is pro-legal immigration. So that means some kind of system has to be developed so that you know who the heck is in the country. Don't try and tar and feather them with this whole idea that they're completely anti-immigrant. I think that's insanely unfair. But you guys have gone the opposite direction. We're all about open borders, are you not?
About how this is about illegal versus legal immigration. They are attacking legal status and removing legal status. The Republican majority is anti-legal immigration in the United States. And I want to make that very clear, and I yield back.
Woo! Okay. You gotta ask yourself, why is all this happening right now? I mean, I know it's Trump and everything, right? We know that Trump, ever since he went down the escalator and said, there's people that we shouldn't have in this country, here in this country, he has become a lightning rod for this. And so they want to go after him. And in going after him, they go after this issue. But they kind of make themselves look foolish in the process. I mean, Jasmine Crockett, you need look no further than the representative from Texas one, Jasmine Crockett, making some lousy remarks, trying to sell her constituency on why you need open borders.
So I had to go around the country and educate people about what immigrants do for this country, or the fact that we are a country of immigrants.
Right.
The fact is, ain't none of y'all trying to go and farm right now. Okay, so I'm lying. Raise your hands. You're not. We done picking cotton. We are. You can't pay us enough to find a plantation.
I know that's right.
Wow. So quite a way to phrase it. Yeah, it's quite a sales pitch. But you, again, need to ask, why is this all happening right now? Why has the left gotten so extreme? Why are they trying to argue for open borders? And it brings you back to this article earlier in the year. New York moves to allow 800,000 non-citizens to vote in local elections. New York City will become the largest municipality in the country to allow legal legal residents to vote if the election is approved as expected in December. Okay, so that's a pretty fascinating headline. And for everybody who's like, oh no, there's no way that would actually happen. Well, I mean, they were trying. If the appellate court hadn't struck it down, you would have had 800,000 non-citizens who were quote unquote legally here, right? Just think about the 532,000 that Biden imported from the likes of Nicaragua, Haiti, Cuba, and Venezuela. Think about that, okay? So I guess you sort of legally are here because you've been given this pass, which by the way, Donald Trump just took away, and suddenly you're voting in elections. You wonder how this works, right? It's just math at the end of the day, unfortunately, but by the way, this is a big part of why Donald Trump won. Don't kid yourself, Dems. People aren't really into this. And let me go back to what the actual rules are. The actual rules are in terms of asylum, etc. And we got real rules on the book. 8 U.S.C. 1158 aligns with the 1951 Refugee Convention, the 1967 Protocol. To qualify for asylum, the applicant must prove two things, okay? One, persecution of well-founded fear of persecution, must have suffered persecution or have had a genuine and responsible fear of future persecution, and be with protected grounds. So you got to meet both of these criteria. So one, you have to be fearful, right, of your life and the situation there, but it can't just be because it's a terrible place. I mean, there's plenty of terrible places out there. It can't be. It actually has to be on these protected grounds. 1, race. 2, religion, nationality, political opinion, or membership in a particular social group. So this is pretty narrowly defined, and yet they wanted to change it into something entirely different. Why, you ask, why? And look, I gotta, I hate to be so critical, shall we say, but you had 800,000 people that had a shot at voting in local elections that were not actually citizens of the United States. Like, what the heck is that about? And it's all being orchestrated by the same people who are on the Fight the Oligarchy tour. Fight the Oligarchy tour. In other words, they want handouts for everybody. They want open borders, and they want them to have everything that they could possibly want and need. I'm thinking about the commie that wants to come into New York as mayor. And then they have the audacity to get out there and ride around on a private jet. Here is AOC with her Fight the Oligarchy tour. And look at that. What do you know? Stepping out of none other than a private plane. Like, it's amazing how that happens. You're out there, fighting the oligarchy. By the way, she's getting caught in a total lie. We talked about this yesterday because she apparently likes to say that she's a girl from the Bronx, but turns out she's kind of from a Tony suburb. Very different place. Wow. Okay. Whatever. You know where this is going, okay? So they want to let them eat cake. Bring them all in. We're going to give them something. We're going to control the money. We're going to control the power. And then as soon as the Senate tries to maybe shut that down, we get a big, beautiful bill thing going on, what happens? A bureaucrat gets in the way. This is rather remarkable. So the Senate voted to stop the 1.4 million migrants that are here illegally from getting Medicaid because, it's kind of expensive. Somebody has to pay for it. I mean, I hate to rain on their parade. And then it gets shut down. It just got shut down today by the Senate parliamentarian. Have you ever heard of a Senate parliamentarian? She's got a lot of power, a serious amount of power. Just to give you some perspective, talking about a bureaucrat, advises the presiding officer, usually the vice president or the senator acting as the presidential pro temporary, on how to apply the Senate's complex rules, determines what is and what is not allowed in certain legislative processes, especially important in the budget reconciliation, which allows some bills to pass with a simple majority, 51 votes, instead of the usual 60. And so on and so forth. So in this particular case, she's demanding it get the 60. That you're not going to be able to just cancel Medicaid spending unless you have the 60. And so people are getting kind of annoyed by this. Why does she have so much power? You get a bureaucrat that's standing in the way of these things. Well, at some point, something's got to give. Like, we just don't have the cash. Did you see the Social Security report? We're going to be out 8 years earlier than we thought. So Democrat Party, however, continues to be this radical mess. And now you got this guy. Woo! Mandani, maybe I spelled his name. Did I spell his name wrong? It's Mandani. Zohran Mamdani out there living it up with the likes of Letitia James in New York City recently. This is the guy that wants to take over New York. And let me tell you, well, no, let him tell you, because I found a video of him explaining all his sort of, Marxist ideas on how he's going to commandeer real estate. Let me just tell you, the real estate agents I've talked to in New York City, they have never seen such a drought of contracts, especially on luxury properties, right? Nobody's buying anything. Why? Nobody wants to be tied to the place. I'm like, whew, I'm glad we got rid of our New York City apartment a few years back. Who the heck would want to have to deal with this guy coming in? And by the way, he may indeed come in. This is serious, guys. And this is like straight out of, Karl Marx.
Toward the Vienna model, we'll have to go beyond the market. We can establish community land trusts to gradually buy up housing on the private market and convert it to community ownership. We can give tenants a right of first refusal to buy out their landlords when buildings go up for sale. And we can fully commit to a new era of social housing, ending subsidies for luxury housing development and using our wealth to build beautiful, high-quality social housing projects that offer good homes and strong communities to everyone. We won't decommodify housing overnight, but we know what we have to do, and we have history to guide us.
We won't decommodify housing already. I understand this. This is like Marxist speak, okay? This is like textbook stuff. The guy is communist, and it's wild because I'm like, oh, you're going to create all these big, beautiful homes with your money, our money. He says, where are you getting the money? We're going to tax the rich white neighborhoods. He literally said it. All right, so that's where he thinks he's getting the money. I'm sorry. It's a free country. Everybody's going to move. They tried this in France. Remember Hollande when he wanted to just tax the rich and everybody that could left? That's exactly what's going to happen in New York City. You have 10% of the entire city paying for everything, and they can't even send their kids to school because the school systems are so lousy. Everything is lousy in New York. It's a disgusting mess. I still pinch myself every time I walk down the street and realize I'm not in New York City anymore. It's darn good, okay? Life on the other side, much, much better. Well, that's what everybody is going to realize. But Donald Trump says, don't worry. He's going to protect people from this commie. Should he be elected? That's if he's elected, because right now there's talk that this guy may not get to first base. This guy may be back in Uganda. This guy may get deported. More on that in a second, but first Trump.
And don't worry, he's not going to run away with anything. I think frankly, I've heard he's a total nut job. I think the people of New York are crazy. If they go this route, I think they're crazy. We will have a communist for the first time, really, a pure, true communist. He wants to operate the grocery stores, the department stores. What about the people that are there?
It's unbelievable. Okay, so Trump's saying he's going to stop it somehow. But this guy wants to, yes, have the government run grocery stores, and he wants government run housing, and he wants, free baby baskets every time you have a baby. Whatever, okay? This guy wants it all for free. Free buses, free everything, right? Except somebody's going to pay for it. He thinks it's his money, our money, collectively. No. Somebody worked. Somebody worked their you-know-what off to get there. And this commie comes along who's had every privilege in the world. His mother's a Disney producer. His dad is a anti-colonial. You know what that means. Anti-European, anti-white. It's like straight out of the Chavez playbook down in Venezuela. Professor at Columbia University. This guy went to Bank Street School, which cost $66,000 a year. Uber liberal school. Followed by Bowdoin College, another really uber liberal place. He started this whole social movement there at Bowdoin. And now he's going to go on to become the next mayor in New York City, is facing a lot of heat. The representative from Tennessee, Andy Ogles, just came out with it. He put a letter in to none other than Pam Bondi just yesterday saying, hey, we got to look at this guy, because apparently when he applied for citizenship, he wasn't forthcoming with everything that he was involved in. He said, and I quote, the naturalization process depends on the good faith disclosure of any affiliation with or support for groups that threaten U.S. national security. If Mr. Mandani concealed relevant associations, that concealment may constitute a material misrepresentation sufficient to support denaturalization under federal law. Wow. Okay, so translation, the guy could get deported right back to Uganda because he lied on his applications. This is kind of interesting. Wow. So take a look here. This is one of the tweets that Andy Ogles put out. He's talking about the guy and his rap music, where he apparently was really praising some non-American groups. So that was one problem that we saw. And then there was another, because in addition to that, he went on to say that he was lying on his N-400 citizen application. And if someone lies during the naturalization process, especially about support for terrorists, then they should be denaturalized, deported, etc. Here he is speaking on Newsmax about this from his car. It's important. Breaking news. Anyway, our friends over at Newsmax interviewed Andy Ogles. I want to play a quick soundbite for you, how he's talking about this, because this is pretty serious. They may actually have a path forward here, in which case, then New York City, I guess you can really thank the president, because you won't have to worry about communism coming to New York.
Well, so part of the process when you fill out the naturalization forms, which, here's a copy of one here, is you've got to disclose your activities. So like communism, anti-American activities. And so in 2018, when he was naturalized, he failed to disclose some of the things that he had been doing, one of which was joining the Democrat Socialists of America. That's a communist organization, which quite frankly, at that time, would have disqualified him from becoming a United States citizen. So what we're encouraging to do is the Justice Department to look into the timing of his joining that organization. It would have been anti-American. It would have fit the definition of what he would have been required to disclose, and quite frankly, would have made him most likely ineligible to become a naturalized citizen. So if that's true, then the process could begin of him being denaturalized. Now, that being said, even if we can't prove or dot the I's and cross the T's and get this guy on this, it creates a template for these other individuals who come to this country. They're sleeper cells. They want to undermine our way of life. They want to take advantage of our generosity. Enough is enough. Look, I'm a proud American. I love my country, love my flag, I love my God, and I love my family. And I'm tired of us being taken advantage of by the rest of the world.
Wow.
Yeah, that's it.
Okay, and let's just be really clear, and I don't want to get into it. You've probably seen it all. The guy is not very pro-American, okay? He's just not. And he's certainly very anti-Israel. And on top of it all, he is very communist, okay? So there you have it. I mean, it's all out there. And I mean, I don't know. I'm not an immigration lawyer, but I would think if you lied on the application, there's actually a real chance that this could come back to haunt you in a pretty significant way. The White House was asked about this. The White House was asked about it, and it was something that they said that they would consider. I just want to go to one of the chats here. Thank you, one, for the generosity. Somebody's asking about the description of the ICE Alert app. We're actually going to get to that because CNN is under fire for having promoted this ICE Alert app. But, in the meantime, back to Mamdani and all of his issues. The White House weighed in on this, and you know what? They're concerned about the guy. Let's play this, because he's asked about whether or not, or I should say Caroline Leavitt is being asked about whether or not there should be any kind of deportation of him, a la what Ogles is saying, and she doesn't say no.
Peter. Thank you, Caroline. Does President Trump want Zohran Mamdani deported?
I haven't heard him say that. I haven't heard him call for that. But certainly he does not want this individual to be elected. I was just speaking to him about it and his radical policies that will completely crush New York City, which is obviously a city that the president holds near and dear to his heart. There's this Congressman, Andy Ogles. He wants the Attorney General Bondi to explore denaturalization proceedings because he thinks Mamdani could have misrepresented or concealed material support for terrorism based on rap lyrics he wrote in 2017. Does President Trump think this is a worthwhile use of the Attorney General's time? Well, I'll let the president speak to that. I have not seen those claims, but surely if they are true, it's something that should be investigated.
And could President Trump see himself, you said you just talked to him about this, could he see himself working with a Mayor Mamdani, somebody who on Meet the Press this weekend was given 3 chances to condemn the phrase globalize the intifada, but he couldn't?
Yeah, look, the president is always willing to work with everyone. He's working with Democrats across the country, Democrat governors, and he said he'll work with people on the far left. He works with Republicans. He works with people in the middle. He wants to do what's right for America, but surely someone who holds these values and is quite literally a communist and condemns every value that makes this country great. Common sense, law and order, low taxes, working hard, and earning your keep in this country. He's against all of that, and I think the president would find it difficult to work with someone like that. If he is elected, I'm sure you'll hear more from the president on that, but we'll have to see. Hopefully,
I guess I hope the guy's not elected. I really, really hope he's not elected. It would just be so bad for New York, unless we just want to sit back and just watch the whole place implode. I mean, I don't wish that on the city. It doesn't deserve that. People forget it was a lousy place. I remember going in the 70s as a kid. My parents would take me to see a Broadway show. It was a big, big deal. I think my first trip when I was like 10, so actually maybe we were in the 80s by then. Anyway, it was a disaster, okay? Like, it was scary. I remember Times Square, and it was like a red light district, right? I was just a kid. I'm like holding on to my parents for dear life. It was a terrifying place to be, and it wasn't until Giuliani came around where he cleaned it up. Mike Bloomberg continued that cleanup and had the backs of the police, and the police, trust me, even though he's a Dem, had the backs of him, and now look where we are today. I mean, it took you Bill de Blasio. Eric Adams tried to kind of rein it in, but it's like the train has left the station, and now you get this craziness going on. Not even AOC seems to be fully on board. I found this comment she made absolutely remarkable. I'm going to play it for you in a second. But again, reminder, fully independent here on the Trish Regan Show. We do love our sponsors. Do your part if you're interested in taking your vitamins every day and staying healthy like I do. Drink lots of water, get your exercise, eat well, and consider taking Balance in Nature. Balance in Nature. Fruits and veggies is my thing. You can get 35% off all their products, and they got lots of products. Just go to balanceofnature.com. Take a look at it. You'll read all kinds of testimonials there, guys. And Balance of Nature has been around for years. There's just thousands of testimonials. You don't have to take entirely my word for it, although my word is pretty good, right? But take a look at what people are saying. You can get 35% off plus free shipping plus total money back guarantee. You can also call them and just use my name. Use Trish as your code word, 1-800-246-8751, 1-800-246-8751 today. So, wow, AOC is now, I think, kind of backing off this guy. I mean, she's letting Letitia do the parade, right? You saw them. Yeah, there was a big parade in New York last weekend, and Letitia and Mandani were kind of living it up there. But where was AOC? I think she's getting a little bit skittish because she must know her donors are so not into this. They're just not. So she made a wildly bad decision when she decided in the first place to come out and back this guy. A very bad decision. Here she is, seemingly walking it back. Listen to what she says. She tries to say that this is like a wake-up call for the party. Instead of saying like, I 1,000% am behind this guy, she's trying to say this is a warning. I think it's a very interesting word choice for the guy that she was seemingly backing.
We have a choice to listen to that message that people are sending us or not. This isn't just about Mr. Mamdani as an individual. This is about the message that the people of New York City are trying to send to our party.
Oh, I guess it's a giant FU. That's what the message is. Because when you put a guy like this, again, let's put this in his words. Well, his words lifted straight out of Karl Marx's textbook here. I mean, he's talking about, listen to him talking about housing, how he's going to make it all free. I mean, the guy's literally nuts.
Toward the Vienna model, we'll have to go beyond the market. We can establish community land trusts to gradually buy up housing on the private market and convert it to community ownership. We can give tenants a right of first refusal to buy out their landlords when buildings go up for sale. And we can fully commit to a new era of social housing, ending subsidies for luxury housing development and using our wealth to build beautiful, high-quality social housing projects.
Our wealth. Our wealth. Come on, buddy. It's not your wealth. It's whoever actually made it. That is what is so disgusting. I'm sorry. You're going to get my Irish up because as soon as the communists start talking, I have no use for any of it. This is a red-blooded American capitalist right here. And I know because you know what? I've actually been a student of history. That was my degree, actually, in U.S. history. But I studied history all over the world, and I love economic history. And anytime you go to any country, any place, guess what? It always ends in misery. Venezuela, USSR, Vietnam, communist Cambodia. It's a bad recipe, okay? Bottom line, the only people that succeed in these situations are those on top. The AOCs, the Bernie Sanders with his multiple homes, or this guy with his fancy education and his fancy talk straight out of Marx.
Offer good homes and strong communities to everyone. We won't decommodify housing overnight. But we know what we have to do.
My Irish is really up. All right. That's what you call communist talk. Okay, guys? This is actually, look, is it dangerous? I think it is. I think it's dangerous for the Democrat Party, though. Because you saw what happened in the election. Sure, it's dangerous for New York, but everybody's just going to leave. Okay, you know what? The wealthy will be fine because the wealthy will hightail it down to Florida or to the Connecticut suburbs or to the Hamptons or wherever they want to go, right? They're going to be fine. It is the regular folks that are always hurt the most in these situations. Again, just go take a little visit down to Venezuela. Why doesn't he? Before you spout off about all this nonsense and you see the poverty to the point where people are hungry, they don't have food. It's just gross what they're trying to do, and I have no use for it. Anyway, in the meantime, CNN is under all kinds of fire. Before we get to that, we got a market today that suddenly took a turn for a little bit for the worse. You have the NASDAQ a little bit lower. Part of that's related to, of course, Tesla because, well, the little brouhaha is spouting up again. Did you see, guys, the Treasury Secretary kind of dissing Elon Musk? This was kind of funny. I'm like, oh my gosh, Scott is getting catty because, well, Elon Musk decided that this bill wasn't really good, right? You know that. He's been going on about this for a while. And the Treasury Secretary was asked about this, and he had some interesting things to say. By the way, you see 76research.com on the bottom. That's my financial company. Use code word $. You get the research for $1 a month for the first 2 months. Then it goes to $9.95. Great introductory rate. Lots of good names there. And a lot of guidance for you on what we think are the opportunities, myself and my colleague Rob over there. Anyway, here is Scott Bessent getting catty, if you would, on one Elon Musk. Watch.
Passes. What's your reaction? You guys famously tangled in the White House.
I admire Elon's leadership on rockets. I will take care of the finances.
Okay. I'm laughing. Okay. It was a little bit funny, right? Just a little bit funny. Like, I admire him on rockets, but I'll take care of the finances. It's in other words, like, buddy, you do you, I'll do me, and we'll all be better off for that. We will all be better off for that. So again, I remind you, go to 76 Research, use code word $. Today for a look at what those opportunities are in this market. As I said, NASDAQ trading down about 0.7% right now. Dow up 1%. There are still lots of good things to be buying, and I believe in what this new opportunity is for sure. Believe me, I wouldn't be telling you this if I didn't. Meanwhile, another story. CNN is getting in a little bit of trouble here. First over its interpretation of whether or not the uranium had been wiped out overseas, and now for the promoting, if you would, of one app that would allow for people to know whether or not there were border agents, ICE agents in their neighborhood, in their zone. And the federal government is not too pleased, first of all, about the app, which they're questioning, like, is this even legal? which it may or may not be. That's actually a really interesting question. It may fall under the false amendment, but they're also kind of ticked off that CNN is blowing the whole thing up and say, oh my gosh, look at this app, look at this app. I guess I have to show you this because you got to know what they're talking about. The president making some comments on this, as well as Tom Homan, the borders are, after this story aired. Watch.
ICE raids and mass deportations. One tech developer is pushing back with an app designed to track ICE activity in real time. It's called ICE Block, and it's controversial to say the least. CNN's Claire Duffy is with us now. How does this work, Claire, and what are the legal implications?
Yeah, John, I talked with Joshua Aaron, who is the longtime tech worker who developed this platform, and he said he really wants it to be an early warning system for people about the location of Immigration and Customs Enforcement officers. So he says he does not want people interfering with those officers' activity, but he does want people to be able to avoid them altogether if they want. So you open the app, it looks like a map, and users can tap the map to report an ICE sighting in their area, and then everybody who uses the platform within 5 miles of that sighting will get a push alert. This is a free iPhone app. It is anonymous. Aaron says he doesn't collect any user data. And what I think is really interesting about this in this moment is we've seen so many of the biggest leaders in tech supporting President Trump, but Aaron is sort of an example of the fact that there are people within the tech industry who are really resistant to Trump's policies. I asked him what he would say to those tech leaders who, for example, were at the inauguration. Here's what he told me. Take a listen.
I understand that you have shareholders to report to. I understand that you have employees that need their paychecks. But at what point do you say enough is enough?
And John, I should say that ICE did not respond when I asked them about this platform and about Aaron's opposition to their activity.
Okay, but now they're responding. Anyway, this is, they've been going on and on and on and on about this, but that was a pretty straightforward enough clip, I thought, worthy of showing you, because you need to understand the background ahead of what first Tom Homan said, and then Kristi Noem and the president were saying no one is happy about this thing. So Tom Homan was on my former network, Fox Business News. I got a few former networks. It's good to be over here. Make sure you subscribe, share, like, comment, all that good stuff. It is great to be over here. And not over there. But anyway, Fox Business News. Stewart was on with Tom Homan this morning and asked him about this app that I just showed you. Here's what he had to say in response.
It absolutely does, and it angers me. Look, I've been doing this since 1984, Stewart. I've been doing this longer than anybody around here. And I just can't believe we're in a place where, a TV network like CNN is talking about this app and educating people on the existence of this app. ICE law enforcement officers, like I said earlier, they are concentrating on public safety threats and national security threats. This is a dangerous job. And this app is going to give the bad guy heads up that we're coming, which means more bad guys are going to escape arrest, which makes this country less safe, which is a public safety issue. And on top of that, it's only a matter of time for a bad guy, which is like someone who threw a Molotov cocktail at officers in L.A., the assault against ICE officers up over 500%. It's a matter of time before someone uses that and ambushes ICE officers. This is something we cannot tolerate, we can't stand for, so we're calling them out, and I'm begging the Department of Justice to look into this and hold people accountable. This puts ICE officers at great risk. We're at a place in time where the Democrats are vilifying ICE as racist and Nazis, and on top of this app, I'm scared to death for the ICE officers who go out there every day, put their lives on the line. Something needs to be done. I'm begging DOJ to look in this, take some action.
Tom.
He's not wrong. He's not wrong in that this is actually a scary time, especially imagine if you are an ICE officer. I think back to the defund the police days, right? And how scary those days were for everybody because there was so much anger directed at the police. And now if you know exactly where they're going to be, are they going to be a target? And that's kind of scary. So this is going to be a problem, not just for CNN. I mean, like people want to say, okay, CNN's in trouble now. I'm a pretty big First Amendment person, so it takes a lot for me to say, okay, the network is actually in trouble for doing that. I mean, my hope is capitalism prevails and you don't watch CNN. You come over here and you watch Trish Regan show and you cut the cord and you get rid of cable and all that good stuff, right? Because, let the market speak for itself and you want to get the truth and you want to get knowledge. I want to be able to present things as fairly as possible. So just being able to show you that, I guess, is important. Nonetheless, why is the guy making it? What is the motive behind that? He just told us his motive. He hates Trump. It's like TDS, enough of it already. Here's Christy.
CNN yesterday pushed an app that lets you track where ICE agents are. Tom Homan was saying that perhaps CNN should be prosecuted for that. That's obstruction of law enforcement. Your response?
Yeah, we're working with the Department of Justice to see if we can prosecute them for that, because what they're doing is actively encouraging people to avoid law enforcement activities, operations, and we're going to actually go after them and prosecute them with the partnership of PAM if we can, because what they're doing, we believe, is illegal.
Boom. So I would think this particular company actually is going to be facing some serious problems. I mean, not CNN, because they're just reporting on it. And even if they glorify it, look what they did with Russia, right? You're going to take that with a grain of salt. It's why you're here. Make sure you subscribe, share, like, all that good stuff. But, and they're protected under the First Amendment. But in this case, with this particular app, that's going to be an interesting situation. And so Pam Bondi really does have her work cut out for her, does she not? Pam, you got a lot to do. All right, Donald Trump teasing, or I should say the Trump family teasing 2028. What happens in 2028? You know, it's going to be here before you know it. The Financial Times sat down with one Eric Trump and asked him these questions. And this is interesting, guys. He kind of left the door open. You know, all along you've heard Eric say, I'm not interested in running. No, not for me. You've heard the same thing from Don Jr. A little different from Lara. There's talk of her, Eric's wife, of Lara possibly even running for Senate down in her native North Carolina. But who's going to be running for president? I mean, people are talking about Marco Rubio. People are talking about Ron DeSantis. People are talking about, you know, any of the cabinet members. And yet, Eric kind of threw some water on that, shall we say, in this new article with the Financial Times, because he actually just said it would be kind of easy. It would be an easy path. I'm sure Marco didn't appreciate that. Or DeSantis, or any of the others, right? He said it would be an easy one, opening the door for another Trump to seek office, writes the Financial Times, after his father leaves the White House. His comments came in a wide-ranging interview, they said, again in the FT, in which he said one of the things he has to look at is all the criticism of the family. The real question, he said, is do you want to drag other members of your family into it? It's a real question, for goodness sakes. I mean, look at what Donald Trump has been up against with threats on his life, bankruptcy threats from Letitia James, who still has a $500 million order out against him, right, in the state of New York. We're waiting on the appellate court on that. But this is a real concern. He said, would I want my kids to live the same experience over the last decade that I've lived? You know, if the answer was yes, I think the political path would be an easy one, meaning I think I could do it. I think I could do it, he said. Let's go back to that for a moment, because he also added, and by the way, so could other members of the family do it. So they might be interested. I mean, it's a lot to take on. Who knows, he said. Who knows? I mean, how did I forget J.D. Vance? Sorry, you guys. I saw what you're saying. You're like, JD. You know, JD's absolutely, positively in the running. So he probably doesn't like this either. But Eric's making it very clear the Trump family is still in charge, and if any of them want to run, you're going to have to get through them first, right? I mean, it's a brutal system. The question is, do you want to do it? And do you want to subject the people that you love to the brutality of this system? And I'm not sure I can answer that question yet. Fair. But what's interesting is this is a change of tone, because in the past he's been like, no, not for me. I'm going to run the business. And then you get Junior, who's like, no, I'm good at campaigning, but I don't want anything to do with politics per se. Lara's been a little bit different, having run the RNC. When he says other members of the family could do it, is he referring to his wife? What about his sister? I mean, his dad told me, And you know, she's the apple of his eye, right? The father's only daughter. You know, she'd make a great president. I remember him telling me this, and she tried very hard, right? Trying to get various legislation accomplished, etc. She was all over the student loan thing, by the way. She thought it was really ridiculous that we gave all this money via student loans to all of these universities, and yet they were charging so much money. I remember talking to her at length about this, and she had done quite a bit of work. She had looked at all of these numbers. So some of her ideas are now coming into fruition. Would she be interested? I don't know. I mean, this is the first I've really heard of Eric saying anything so out there, right? So out in front of this. Possibly he might look at this. It's very interesting to see, but I think it was a bit of a wake-up call for JD, for Marco, and of course for Ron DeSantis, because they all have aspirations. And there's probably others out there too that we don't even know about yet, right? That have aspirations. Additionally, I mean, including on the other side, Michelle Obama, you know, if she doesn't get divorced first. Michelle Obama, if you don't know now, has a podcast. Maybe you don't know unless you heard about it here on this show, because nobody's apparently watching it. I mean, like, they're really struggling on YouTube. We're in the top 100, by the way, top 100 podcasts here on YouTube. So thank you, guys. Keep liking, sharing, subscribing, all that good stuff. Anyway, Michelle really decided to diss women. In this commentary on women, she starts talking about the women's reproductive system. And, you know, I get it. Like, there's a lot that can be studied, should be studied on the female body. But don't get me wrong, okay? But I'm going to tell you, the most extraordinary thing about being a woman is that we get to have the kids. And I say get to because it's an honor. Like, being a mother is the most special, most exceptional thing that one could ever do. And no woman nor man should ever lose sight of the beauty of that. No matter what the left tries to tell you, no matter how many apple emojis I see with the pregnant man, I'm like, no. That's all for us. That's me. That's every woman. Those are my daughters. And we have this unique, extraordinary thing that we can do that really is a superpower. I mean, granted, you need a man, all right? It takes two. But it's an awesome thing. And like, I don't get why they're always trying to poo-poo femininity and just trample all over it. Including Michelle Obama saying, you know, it's really not the most extraordinary thing a woman's body can do. I'm sorry. I think it is amazing. Amazing. I've had 3 kids myself. It's like my biggest accomplishment ever. I guess she can't say the same.
Women's reproductive health is about our life. It's about this whole complicated reproductive system that does the least of what it does is produce life. It's a very important thing that it does. But you only produce life if the machine that's producing it, if you want to, you know, whittle us down to a machine, if the machine is functioning in a healthy, streamlined kind of way. But there is no discussion.
Okay, so let me go back to this.
It's about this whole complicated reproductive system that does the least of what it does is produce life. It's a very important thing.
I mean, she doesn't even make sense, right? I'm sorry, Michelle. It's this reproductive system, the least of which it does is produce life. You know. I'm sorry. I'm tired of it. You know what? Women are awesome, and we need to celebrate the fact that we are women, for goodness sakes. You know, we need more Riley Gaines out there, fewer Michelle Obamas, shall I say. Well, you know what? She doesn't stand a shot anyway, because I think Eric Trump's going to do it. I think he's going to pull a rabbit out of the hat. And listen, there's a lot to be looking at in terms of the market right now, a whole lot. And I'm an investor for the long haul. And I believe in what this president is doing, and I believe in the economic policy that we're looking at. I think it's going to be good times ahead. I love what I'm seeing on the AI front. I know that freaks a lot of people out, but I'm just an investor when I look at this stuff, and I love it. I mean, yeah, I get it. I know it's a little scary, right? But here's the deal. we want to own that space. We don't want China to own it, right? So I like what the administration is doing to be first and foremost and put America first. Good to have you guys all here. Thank you for everything you do. I'm looking at all your comments here in real time. It's great I see a lot of new faces here. A lot of new faces. You like Vance and Rubio. I see Delphine. Interesting. And you have some funny comments. I see all of you on Michelle. Anyway, we will resume the live conversation tomorrow. Look forward to lots more content coming your way through today and tonight. And I'll see you here live tomorrow.